Revealed. My son's incredible demand changed everything, so I sold our family home for a new life. One evening over steaming bowls of mac and cheese, Jake dropped the bombshell. Mom, I got into the art program in New York. I need to go. His excitement crackled through the kitchen, but it hit Sarah like a wave crashing over her. The exact words hung heavily in the air, twisting inside her chest. She could already feel the impending heartbreak of a profound, unspoken shift. Her mind spiraled a prestigious program, thousands of miles away. Selling their beloved home to finance his dreams? The thought was laden with both dread and admiration. As Jake rambled about his plans, his passion flowing like the vibrant colors he loved to paint with, Sarah felt herself grow dizzy. This wasn't just about art. It was about everything they had struggled through. Memories flooded in their laughter, warmth, the walls that embraced them during late-night homework and whispered dreams. And now he wanted to abandon it all. The thought of spinning the wheel of fortune in the pursuit of his ambitions sent her heart racing, caught in the tension of motherhood and fear. For days she grappled with the aching question. Had she failed him for even considering it? Friends and family's voices played in her head like a broken record, their advice a reminder of the security she desperately craved for Jake. Stability is key, they said. Don't uproot him. The notion of leaving Bexley felt like betrayal, even as Jake boldly urged her to believe, to let them both fly into the unknown. The intense emotional pressure weighed on her chest, twisting painfully. Moments became confrontations. She watched as tension brewed between their passion and fear, each pep talk laced with a hint of uncertainty. Jake's fiery aspirations clashed with Sarah's trepidation. How could they gamble everything when the stakes were so high? Each evening she messaged potential buyers while trying to maintain normalcy. She could feel the weight of their community's judgment resting on her shoulders, whispers of envy and concern intertwining. How could she support her son's dreams in a way that didn't feel like sabotage? She winced at the thought, her internal battle intensifying. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet just when she thought she could make a decision, an artist from Bexley, once a dreamer now a mentor, reignited something dormant within her, an urge to carve out her own aspirations. A life beyond the confines of mom began to flicker in her mind, but with that spark came a torrent of dread. What if pursuing shared dreams meant risking their bond? If she propelled Jake into the world of possibility, would it mean losing him? The pressure rocked her to her core. Each move felt heavier than the last. As they stood on the precipice of a new beginning, she glimpsed the abyss below, teetering between hope and despair. How did they navigate the fine line between support and sacrifice? With every conversation, the stakes amplified, leaving Sarah paralyzed, emotions churning as the inevitable truth loomed larger. Change was afoot, and the heart of her world hung in the balance. Now Sarah faced an agonizing choice. What would she give up for the sake of Jake's future? Days turned into a blur of uncertainty, as Sarah navigated the emotional minefield of her son's aspirations intertwined with her own fears. The empty spaces in their home echoed with laughter that lingered like a ghost, reminding her of what was at stake. She could feel herself retreating into a familiar role, the one that shielded her from her own dreams, but emitted an unsatisfactory warmth when comforting Jake. One night, after a particularly intense conversation where Jake had passionately advocated for his future, Sarah sat alone in the dim light of the living room, her hands wrapped around a mug of lukewarm tea. Every sip brought forth waves of reflection. She was stuck in a cycle of analyzing the benefits and consequences, every scenario painted with frantic strokes of love and fear. She wondered why ambition felt so selfish, why pursuing one's dreams could feel like sabotage to someone so close. It was then that Sarah remembered her mentor Tina, who had always spoken of art's power to reveal truths. Retreating into memories, she recalled their afternoons spent sketching together, how Tina pushed her to explore art not just as a hobby, but as a form of expression. Her heart raced with a romantic notion that perhaps it was time to reclaim some of that very spirit. The following day, Sarah decided to take a leap. She rummaged through the attic, unearthing old canvases, brushes, and art supplies tucked away under years of dust. Each item sparked a flicker of her own long-neglected dreams. With the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the faded colors, she felt a wave of inspiration. Strengthened by this resolve, she promised herself that pursuing her artistic interests wouldn't diminish her support for Jake. It might actually enhance it. But as she sat down to paint that evening, hesitation crept in. The thought of failure loomed like a shadow over her canvas. What if her work was not worthy? What if she was merely assuming she could attain this newfound dream? Confronting her doubts, she decided to break the cycle of self-doubt. Gathering her materials, she felt her heart pound in her chest. Every stroke of the brush was a declaration of independence. She was carving out space for herself in this changing landscape, solidifying her commitment to not just being Jake's mother, but rediscovering Sarah the artist. As the weeks unfolded, she immersed herself in her work. There were moments of elation, but they were often accompanied by daunting questions about the future. Would she manage to balance her own ambitions with guiding Jake? The act of creation became a dual-edged sword. Her artistic journey mirrored Jake's own ambition, raising the stakes in her personal life dramatically. Before she knew it, Jake noticed the changes in her. One evening he walked in as she added the final touches to a vibrant landscape, his eyes lighting up with curiosity and admiration. "Wow, Mom! That's incredible!" His praise felt like an echo of thunder, vibrating in her chest. Yet she felt a swell of anxiety. Would he view her artistic pursuits as a distraction from his own? Would he still believe that, as he chased his dreams, she could support him while pursuing her own? The fear of rejection gnawed at her. She wanted to be his ally, not a rival. "Mom, can I show you something?" Jake asked, his tone suddenly serious. Sarah's heart raced. What was on the horizon? The moment felt pivotal, laden with both anticipation and dread. She set her brush down, ready to embrace whatever was to come, but a part of her feared what it might mean for their bond. The revelations of the night lingered in the shadows, promising new challenges. What would Sarah discover about herself, and how would it affect both their lives? Jake stood in the doorway, his expression a mixture of excitement and trepidation, clutching something behind his back. The light from the hallway silhouetted him, enhancing the tension in the air. Sarah felt an urgent need to support him, but she was also tangled in her own aspirations, a jigsaw puzzle of emotions where every piece interlocked with uncertainty. "What is it, sweetheart?" she asked, her voice steady despite the surge of anxiety tightening around her chest. With a deep breath, Jake pulled a folded piece of paper from behind him. "I wrote a letter. It's about my college applications." The weight of her son's words settled between them. College applications meant stepping into a vast world away from home, but it also represented growth, ambition, the very thing she had been wrestling with. She motioned for him to sit beside her, desperate to absorb everything he had to say. "I've been thinking about how I want to approach this," he began, unfolding the paper with hands that shook slightly. "I want to apply to art schools, Mom. I want to follow my passion." Her breath caught in her throat. Art schools. It was an echo of her own latent dreams, a reminder that she wasn't the only one traversing this unpredictable landscape. Yet beneath the pride, doubt flickered. "Jake, are you sure? I mean, do you really want to do this?" "Yes, I've thought about it a lot. I don't want to just follow the path everyone expects. I love creating just like you." His gaze held hers, unwavering and fierce. "But I need your support. Will you help me?" The juxtaposition of their aspirations, their shared passion for art, sparked a conflicting debate within her. On one hand, she felt a surge of excitement at the idea of Jake embracing his identity as an artist. On the other, a creeping fear gripped her. Was she robbing him of stability by both of them embarking on an artistic journey simultaneously? Empathy and apprehension danced in her mind like a haunting melody. She wanted Jake to chase his dreams, but didn't he want him to feel burdened by her own? "It's wonderful you want to pursue this," she said hesitantly, acknowledging the thrill igniting within her. "But have you thought about what that means for us? For your future?" His confidence held strong. "I know it's a risk. It's scary, but you're pursuing your own dreams too, aren't you? You're proving that it's okay to follow what you love." For a few moments, silence enveloped them, filled with the weight of choice and revelation. Sarah found herself at the crossroads, wrestling between the instinct to shield Jake from potential failure and the truth that life's most profound moments often lie in embracing uncertainty. Inspiration surged within her, catalyzed by the recognition that the best way to support him was not to diminish her own journey, but to elevate them both. "Let us go through the application process together," she decided, her voice steadying with newfound resolve. "We can inspire each other." He broke into a radiant smile. "Really? You'll help?" "Yes, but we need to be open and honest about our fears. We can't let doubt overshadow our paths." Jake nodded, and the connection reinforced with an unspoken agreement to face the unknown as partners in creativity. Yet beneath the surface, Sarah felt a churning sense of urgency. Their shared art dream weighed heavily on her psyche. What if they both failed? What would pursuing their passions mean for their home, their security? With thoughts swirling in a relentless tide, questions piled on top of one another, threatening to drown her newfound confidence. As she glanced at her unfinished painting, a canvas that once felt like liberation now appeared as a stark reminder of the risks entailed. "Mom, can I share something else?" Jake's voice was softer, drawing her out of her thoughts. What could possibly follow that would change everything? Anxiety and anticipation wrestled within her as she braced for what might emerge next, knowing this moment could lead them down a path neither could predict. The room felt heavy with the unspoken tension hanging between them as Jake leaned closer, both excitement and apprehension etched on his youthful face. Sarah recognized the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, mirroring her own fears, and it sparked a rush of protectiveness. She had weathered her share of storms, yet here they stood on the brink of the unknown together. "What is it, Jake?" The urgency in her tone was undeniable. Her heart raced, knowing this moment felt pivotal. "I've been thinking about moving, not just for college applications but physically moving. I want to go to New York City," he revealed. His voice wavered with vulnerability, but determination colored his words. "I want to be where the art is." Shock coursed through her. New York City? The very thought sent butterflies of both fear and thrill fluttering in her stomach. It was a dream. No, it was a leap further than she had anticipated for either of them. The financial implications, the practicalities of uprooting their lives, the endless list flooded her mind, practically drowning out the ambition in his eyes. "Jake, that's a huge decision," she managed, trying to reason her way through the whirlwind of thoughts. "Have you really considered how this will affect everything? Our home, school, your friends?" "Mom, I know it's big, but this is about art. It's about my future." His passion ignited with every word, and she admired that he didn't hold back, that he wasn't afraid. "You always said to follow my dreams. We could even find a place together." Together. That word struck a chord, resonating in a way she hadn't predicted. The idea of sharing a creative life in a new city began to draw her in, brightening the corners of her imagination. The prospect was tantalizing yet daunting, an enormous gamble for both of them. Stealing her resolve, Sarah tried to maintain focus. "We have to find jobs, and it might take time for you to get into a good school. It wouldn't be easy." "I'm ready for hard work," he insisted, youthful resilience radiating from him. "If you help me with my applications, I'll get through this. I know I can. We can do this together." His earnestness struck a chord deep within her. There was no fear in the way he spoke, only clarity and a determination she yearned to emulate. How many times had she placed barriers around her own ambitions? How many years had she settled for safety instead of chasing something vibrant, something alive? His request tugged at her paradigm of limitations and hungered for authenticity. "Okay," she whispered, more to herself than him as the dream began coalescing, entwining around their fate. "But we need a plan. A solid plan." Jake's face brightened, eyes sparkling with eagerness. "Absolutely. I can start working on my portfolio right away, and we can map out everything we need." As they began sketching outlines for the life they could have, Sarah felt electricity in the air, a shared vision emerging from their discussion. The clutter of doubt still hovered, a dim storm cloud trailing her new reliance on this ambition, but something inside her began to shimmer. An acknowledgement sparkled, both distressing and liberating. Creating art and living their dreams was risky, yet infusing their lives with truth felt painfully necessary. Later that night, exhausted from brainstorming and bickering practically over the logistics, Sarah lay in bed, the gentle hum of anxiety familiar yet different now. The ungraspable combination of fear for their future and hope surged through her veins, awakening a resilience she hadn't tapped into for years. As she stared at the ceiling, her thoughts spiraled back to her unfinished painting. The colors that had once called her to create now felt like a beckoning. Could she reclaim her own artistic journey as they intertwined? Watercolors and canvas whispered promises of both stress and exhilaration. She pondered the risks ahead, the potential fallout if they stumbled. But lurking in the shadows was the scent of unbridled hope, a calling louder than her doubts. What if, in this search for a new life, she uncovered parts of herself long buried? As sleep began to creep in, a new resolve settled within her. The time had come to face those long-held aspirations, perhaps even risk the comfort she had clung to. Sarah breathed deep, reminding herself that forging ahead now required unwavering trust in both Jake and herself. The next morning, a call from an unexpected source shattered the budding bliss. Someone was interested in buying their home. Right in that moment, she knew her life was set on a new trajectory, racing toward an uncertain adventure that was as thrilling as it was precarious. Taking a deep breath, she stared at the canvas blankly, afraid yet exhilarated, ready to make moves that could define who they both might become. If only she could gather the courage to truly jump into the unknown. What might await them? With anticipation swelling in her chest, Sarah felt a wave of possibility wash over her. A fresh invitation to create and connect in ways she had yet to imagine. What lies beyond the horizon of their choice? The moment of truth was fast approaching, and her heart raced with the weight of impending decisions. The morning light streamed through the window, unceremoniously jolting Sarah awake. She lay intertwined with thoughts of what she might be losing, every familiar nook of the house that had been a constant in their lives. Memories whispered from the faded walls, laughter, tears, and moments that defined them. Yet today, she wrestled with the profound weight of Jake's ambition, propelling her forward into unfamiliar territory. After a hasty breakfast, she found herself sitting at the dining table, a blank notebook in front of her and the pen trembling in her grasp. Each line of ruled paper stood as a gateway to her own latent aspirations. What was left unfulfilled? What new life could spring from the ashes of her former safety? With every stroke of the pen, plans for New York began to cascade onto the pages, but as the outlines of their future took shape, her inner dialogue shifted between elation and despair. "Okay, Sarah," she said out loud, a method she adopted to manifest her intentions. "This is about more than just Jake. It's about you too." But how had she gotten so far from that part of herself? The impulse to create, to be more than a spectator in both her life and her son's, pressed heavily upon her heart. She pondered her unfinished painting, the canvas still untouched. That art studio she had dreamed of visiting but never did felt like a distant echo. Could she really juggle her responsibilities while harnessing the same spirit of ambition her son had displayed? Each thought spiraled into her doubts. What if she floundered? What if she was too old to embrace her creativity once more? Would her yearning for artistic expression uncover an identity she had buried beneath years of practicality? "I need to explore this," she determined, deciding to embrace the uncertainty rather than flee from it. Grabbing her phone, she sent a text to her old art teacher, someone who had always believed in her talent. "Can we meet? I want to talk art again." Sending the message felt like shedding a burden. Perhaps it was the first step toward breaking free from the shackles of fear that had encircled her for too long. As the hours passed, her anxiety paired with anticipation. The potential of that call, the prospect of rekindling a passion, felt like a flicker against the batteries of her own hesitations. Time began to weigh heavily on her mind as she waited for a reply, thoughts oscillating between excitement about the future and the nagging relief of staying where things felt known. Jake joined her at the table, his eyes twinkling with the resurfaced clarity about their plans. "Mom, I'm starting on my portfolio tonight. Can you help?" His enthusiasm wrapped around her like warmth in a cold winter's eve. "Of course, what do you need from me?" Suddenly, her uncertainty began to morph into a fierce longing. Perhaps his pursuit was a mirror reflecting her own dormant dreams. "Let us work together. I need to get back to my art too." His face radiated excitement. "You're going to paint? That's awesome. We'll be like a creative team." Her heart soared. It wasn't merely about following him. It was about reclaiming who she was. Her thoughts gleamed with hope, yet shadows of doubt loomed. Would she still be able to embrace this partnership with Jake, while seeking her own artistic path? That evening, as they pored over sketches and ideas, a blend of mother and son, her fears receded slightly. Each brush stroke of their combined ambition diluted the noise of uncertainty. They created an ecosystem of shared desires, each reinvigorating the other, each honing in on the tattoos of their individual dreams. But just as she began to feel a rhythm forming, Jake's phone chirped and his face fell. "It's Matt. He wants to talk. Yes, asking about our plans. Are we really going to move?" Her pulse quickened. The reality of their goal loomed as an undeniable truth, now tangling with Jake's relationships back home. Would moving sever those bonds? "Do you think he'll understand?" Jake's uncertainty reflected her own, their shared fears weaving a web of hesitancy that made her stomach twist. Would friendships survive under the weight of colossal changes? Before she could reply, Sarah's phone buzzed. Her heartbeat crescendoed. It was a response from her art teacher. "Yes, let us meet. I'd love to help guide you back into your creative path." The warmth blooming in her chest abruptly collided with the reality of a conflict brewing between personal and professional transitions. The moment of truth for both their futures pressed heavy. Just as she began to breathe, a wave of doubt surged with the possibility of loss, not just of comfort but of the familiar bond they both cherished. "Are we ready for what comes next?" she thought fiercely, breaking the silence. More than a simple leap of faith awaited them. It was a plunge into the depths of their own unknowns. With tension thick in the air and the silence heavy, Sarah desperately wondered what transformative revelations awaited them once they crossed their threshold. The next morning unfolded slowly, each minute a reminder that Sarah stood on the precipice of change. The sunlight, once a comfort, now felt like a spotlight exposing every crevice of doubt. She sat in the small living room, surrounded by boxes half-packed, remnants of a life she once thought stable. Clenching a steaming cup of coffee, she stared at the untouched canvas still propped against the wall. The weight of unfulfilled promises began to press down on her chest. As the day stretched into moments of reflection, she recalled the voice of her art teacher, Ms. Williams, the guiding hand in her younger years, who had urged her to express herself freely. The anticipation of their meeting was tinged with uncertainty. What if she had lost all of her creative instincts? Would it crumble under the scrutiny of someone who had once believed in her? The buzzing of her phone interrupted her reverie. It was a message from Jake. "Can you come to school later? I want to introduce you to some people." Pride intertwined with anxiety as she replied, "Of course. I can't wait to meet them." Yet, a seed of insecurity nestled in her brain. Would she be the mother who overshadowed her son's moment? Would her desire to reclaim her vision sully his achievements? Later that day, Sarah arrived at the school, navigating the crowded hallways filled with eager students not unlike Jake. The energy surged around her, a chaotic symphony of youthful ambition that both inspired and intimidated her. Unbeknownst to them, she felt like an imposter stepping onto foreign soil, draped in fear disguised as protective caution. When she reached the art room, a cozy enclave filled with vibrant colors and eclectic artwork, Jake introduced her to his classmates, all overflowing with excitement about their artistic endeavors. As Sarah spoke, sharing snippets of her past, the excitement of creating, the satisfaction of completing a piece, she felt a flicker of her former self shining through. Jake's friends looked on, hanging onto her words, as if she were imparting some profound knowledge. But the weight of doubt gnawed at her. Was she living in the past? Did their admiration stem from genuine respect? Or was taking the path of art now an act of nostalgia rather than passion? In the corner, a painting sketched in broad strokes captured her attention, a swirling depiction of conflicting emotions. There it was, the exact inner turmoil she had been harboring, beauty tangled within chaos. Without thinking, she approached it, her fingers tracing the rough texture of the canvas. "Ms. Williams taught us to express what we can't always say," a voice said from behind her. A girl with fiery curls stood beside her, challenging her observation. "Exactly." Sarah found herself responding, surprised by the enthusiasm flooding her words, invigorated by the girl's spontaneity. That tension, that frustration, it's where great art comes from. Driven by a sudden wave of impulsiveness, she proposed, "How about we have a school-wide art session? Everyone can bring their ideas, their emotions. This piece might inspire more than we realize." The room erupted in conversation, her suggestion bouncing off the walls with infectious excitement. For the first time in years she felt part of something larger, her voice, her thoughts, finding resonance with a group eager to explore their creativity. As they began to plan, a surge of vitality reignited within Sarah. The box labeled art in her mind's eye swelled with possibility. Maybe she could reclaim her narrative, build a bridge between her past and present. The fear that had once paralyzed her began to dissipate, replaced by a growing determination. Later that night, Sarah sat with her sketchbook in hand. She began to outline the visuals swirling in her thoughts, the innovation flowing like warm honey, carrying along the confidence she knew she could summon. She wasn't merely preparing to move, she was evolving, coming back to life in a way that would empower her, and crucially inspire Jake as well. Just as she began to grasp the beauty of this rebirth, her phone buzzed again, this time with a notification that sent chills down her spine. A message from her art teacher read, "I've been thinking about your journey back into art. There's something important we need to discuss about New York." Trepidation tightened around her throat, catching her breath. What did Ms. Williams know that could alter everything? Did it pertain to her growth or the precarious nature of her plans? As Sarah sat surrounded by colorful sketches and the faint tremors of excitement in her heart, she couldn't shake the nagging question echoing through her mind. What awaited her in this new chapter? And would her past pieces fit into the grand mosaic of her future? The night dragged on, Sarah's mind a storm of questions dancing through the vivid hues of her sketches. Each stroke of the pencil felt like a beckoning call, urging her toward a decision just out of reach. The implications of Ms. Williams' message rattled around her thoughts, echoing like a drum, a call to action mixed with a chorus of fears. What lay waiting in New York, and could she truly harness her dormant passion? The early morning light seeped through the window, weaving a tapestry of warmth across her cluttered living room. With her usual routine dissolved into a haze, Sarah dragged herself out of bed, the unfinished sketches resting heavy on her mind. She needed clarity, a conversation with someone who understood the intricacies of her artistic aspirations. Arriving at the coffee shop down the street, she was greeted by the familiar scent of roasted beans and the low hum of conversation. She fished out her phone and stared at Ms. Williams' message, the urgency of the moment pressing down on her. What could possibly be so significant that it warranted such a meeting? The sound of the cafe doors swinging open pulled her from her reverie. Ms. Williams walked in, her presence a warm lighthouse guiding Sarah back to her core. The friendly smile invited her, and they exchanged pleasantries over steaming mugs of coffee. "Sarah," she began, her tone laced with an undertone that hinted at the gravity of their discussion, "I've been following Jake's projects at school. He's really inspired by you." That revelation stirred something deep within Sarah, a proud ache, illuminating the possibilities of a shared journey in creativity with her son. Yet there was more. "I've also been offered a unique opportunity in New York, an exhibition that showcases the evolution of visual art through storytelling. I thought of you immediately. I believe your story deserves to be told on that stage." Stunned yet electrified, Sarah listened intently, the suggestion hanging in the air like the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. "But my journey has been so fragmented, so muddled. Can I stand on that stage beside those who truly know their craft? Art isn't merely about perfection," Ms. Williams replied, her eyes shining with conviction. "It's about authenticity. Your journey, the journey of transformation and resurgence, is powerful. You don't need to conform to any notion of what an artist should be. You bring a perspective that can resonate far and wide." Her words were a balm to Sarah's frayed nerves, igniting the flickers of hope that were hiding beneath layers of self-doubt. They discussed potential pieces she could exhibit, the central theme swirling around family, loss, and rebirth. Each concept resonated deeply within her, reminding her of the swirling chaos she had observed in the students at Jake's school, the emotions grappling for a voice. Time melted into the backdrop, the world outside falling away as Sarah found herself leaning in, her creativity fueled by a newfound conviction. "I want it. I want to do this," she declared, the resolve crystallizing into something tangible. "That's the spirit," Ms. Williams encouraged, her warmth enveloping Sarah like a cocoon. "It's time to translate your evolution into a language that the world can see and feel." But even as her heart soared, a new question gnawed at the edges of her excitement. How could she balance this ambition with being a supportive mother to Jake? Would she withdraw into her own world, eclipsing the very light she sought to nurture? An oppressive weight settled on her shoulders, the dichotomy of her desires clashing within. Just as the warmth of possibility began to permeate, her phone buzzed again, this time displaying a text from Jake. "Mom, we need to talk. Something happened at school." Sarah's heart raced. What did this mean? The stakes had just risen. Her son needed her, and she wasn't quite ready for what lay ahead. As she faced a crossroads, one that could define her not only as an artist but as a mother, she felt the clamor of her creative dreams and familial responsibilities colliding. Where would she find balance? The moment of truth was drawing near, and Sarah knew that the choices she made now not only shaped her future but Jake's as well. Would she rise to the challenge, or would fear take hold once more? Sarah stared blankly at her phone, the words "Mom, we need to talk." Something happened at school reverberating in her mind like an ominous bell tolling. The warmth from the coffee shop faded, replaced by a piercing chill. The world around her spun slightly as she wrestled with the sudden urgency of the moment. "Excuse me, I need to take this," she hastily told Ms. Williams, her voice shaking slightly as she stood up, her body moving on autopilot. She stepped outside, the crisp air sharpening her thoughts. Her heart pounded against her ribcage, an uneasy rhythm that matched the uncertainty swirling inside her. As the phone rang, Sarah felt the weight of potential change settle on her shoulders. Each ring echoed in her mind as she tried to fathom what could have happened at Jake's school. Was he in trouble? Had there been an incident? "Mom." Jake's voice was tentative, drenched in something darker than usual. "Can I come home?" "Of course, sweetheart. I'm on my way." What happened? She fought to keep her tone calm, but every fiber of her being urged her to pry him open, to dig deeper into the shadows looming over him. "It's complicated." "Just please come," he replied, each word laced with a gravity that hinted at a considerable weight on his young shoulders. A cascade of scenarios unfolded in Sarah's mind: bullying, failure, an announcement that had somehow shaken him. But within each scenario, the echo of her burgeoning artistic ambitions lingered. Could she afford to step away from this opportunity in New York, or would that decision set the stage for a regret she wasn't ready to bear? Pushing the door open with determination, she stepped back into the coffee shop, but it felt different now. Each sound was amplified, each voice a reminder of what she might lose. Her conversation with Ms. Williams nagged at her, pushing her choices toward an inevitable clash. Would pursuing her dream mean abandoning Jake in his moment of need? "Everything okay?" Ms. Williams asked, her concern genuine. "Not quite. Jake needs me," Sarah replied, her voice low, filled with uncertainty. "Then go," Ms. Williams urged. "Art can wait. Sometimes the heart leads you to the true canvas of life. Nurture your son first." Those words ricocheted in Sarah's mind as she made her way toward home, the drive feeling interminable. What did it mean to be a mother and an artist? Did her aspirations have to overshadow her responsibilities? As Sarah parked the car, fear and love intertwined in a complex braid of emotions gripping her heart. She opened the front door and found Jake sitting at the kitchen table, his face drawn and pale, stripped of the carefree spirit she normally clung to as a lifeline. "Jake," she began, but words caught in her throat, replaced by instinctive motherly concern. She sat down across from him, battling the urge to leap into questions like a tide threatening to consume them both. "I didn't want to upset you, Mom," he began, his voice cracking slightly. Her heart sank further. "What's going on?" He hesitated, biting his bottom lip, the silence heavy between them. Then he dropped his gaze, as if bracing for impact. "I found something out about the art program at school. I thought it's better if I told you in person." A knot twisted within her as she anticipated what he might say. Jake's discovery could dangerously intertwine with her own aspirations. Would it be a path toward a shared artistic journey or a barrier throwing them on divergent roads? "Just tell me," she urged, her voice steady despite her internal chaos. He looked up, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I want to go to New York too." As the words hung in the air, a fierce tumult of emotion surged through Sarah. The dream she reluctantly held now felt as though it reached back toward her son. Was this the opening she had yearned for, or the beginning of something far more complex? What lay ahead would not only challenge her as an artist, but would also redefine the very core of her identity as a mother. The moment of truth was at hand, and she could no longer avoid the convergence of her dreams and Jake's needs. Jake, what if we made this journey together? She offered, hope battling with doubt, as the enormity of the road ahead loomed in front of them, ready to be confronted. But before they could explore that notion, another message pinged on Sarah's phone. Mom, it's about your art, everyone is talking. They want you to address something bigger. What did that mean? What revelations lay just beyond their grasp? The weight of that moment hung heavy, an intricate tapestry of desires, fears, and connections poised precariously on the brink of transformation. Would they move forward in tandem? Or would the burdens of their individual paths finally fracture their journey together? The air in the kitchen felt charged with unspoken possibilities. Sarah stared at Jake, his expression a mirror of fear and determination. Her heart raced, torn between the urge to shield him and the aspiration she had nurtured for so long. How did his dream intertwine with her own? With every heartbeat, she questioned whether this was the serendipitous connection she had longed for, or a complicated web of expectations they would inevitably regret. I just don't want to disappoint you, Jake said quietly, fiddling with his fingers as he averted his gaze. His vulnerability struck a chord deep within her. Would encouraging him mean she was reproducing her own burdens onto him? It's not about disappointment. Sarah kept her voice steady, forcing herself to breathe deeply. It's about taking chances, about chasing what we love. Did she really believe that chasing dreams was the answer? Or was she merely trying to calm her own fears? This was a pivotal moment. Jake looked up, searching her face for reassurance. But Mom, what if I don't make it? What if I'm not good enough? You are more than good enough, Jake. You have a talent, she said, surprising herself with the conviction in her tone. Believe in that talent and let it guide you. The truth settled over her, a newfound understanding clashing with the insecurities they both faced. If Jake harnessed his passion, perhaps they could both rise, buoyed by their pursuit. But that meant making sacrifices. The thought of leaving their home, of abandoning the very foundation of their lives, sent a ripple of discomfort through her. Could she really uproot their existence for the sake of ambition? The weight of her own past, of moments lost and opportunities missed, bore down on her shoulders as she considered the ramifications. I want to be your biggest supporter, Sarah said, her voice barely a whisper. But I also have fears. I can't bear the thought of you failing. It felt raw, the honesty carving a path through the tension that enveloped them. Jake's face brightened slightly as he absorbed her admiration. What if we both try? Together? His words were tentative, yet they struck an inspiring chord. Collaborating with her son could redefine their artistic journey, bringing them closer. But what if their dreams fractured under pressure? What if their mutual ambitions blurred the lines of their relationship as mother and son? Struggling to find the right response, Sarah's phone buzzed again, interrupting her spiraling thoughts. It's about the art program in New York, the message read. They want to meet you about community outreach and guidance. What did that entail? Was it more than just showcasing her work? Did they expect her to assume a role as a mentor? The complexities of expectations tugged at her, each demand a shadow looming large, amplifying her fear of failure. Mom, Jake's voice cut through her turmoil. What's wrong? She looked at him, and her heart swelled with pride mixed with trepidation. I just received a message that could change everything, she admitted, feeling both exhilarated and unnerved. They want me to take on a bigger role, to help the next generation of artists. This revelation didn't just concern her. This was a shared turning point. Their aspirations could potentially feed into one another. Yet she could also discern the lurking implications. Would pursuing this path with Jake dilute her own ambitions, or ignite a flame of creativity that stood to propel them both? Maybe it's time we make bold choices for both of us, Sarah proposed, the words spilling out in a rush. What if we sold the house, simplified our lives, and leap into this adventure together? Jake's expression shifted, a mixture of excitement and apprehension playing across his features. Do you really mean that? It feels like a big step. It is, she acknowledged, her heart hammering at the prospect. But isn't that what we've been yearning for? A chance to create together? The embrace of that idea was both liberating and terrifying. As the two of them stood on the brink of a significant transformation, Sarah's mind raced through the logistics of their decision. It was more than a physical change. It was a metaphorical leap into the great unknown of their aspirations. But as they contemplated their future, another ping jolted her from her reverie. The gallery is really interested, and they want to feature your work if you can deliver something new. Deliver what? New work while navigating her own fears? The weight of their shared aspirations converged dangerously with the demands of her professional life. Could she hold on to her identity as an artist while supporting Jake's dreams? Or would the impending strains divide them, revealing unforeseen challenges? The moment had arrived for decisive action, yet the uncertainty loomed. Would this finally be the opportunity they both needed, or would it fracture their bond beyond repair? Days turned into weeks as Sarah and Jake navigated the transformative journey of their shared aspirations. The familiar walls of their home became a distant memory as they immersed themselves in preparations for their new life in New York City. As the house emptied, so did the weight of their collective fears. Every box they packed symbolized a release, a shedding of old limitations. Sarah found herself at the center of a swirl of creativity. Her art came alive again, ignited by her new purpose and collaboratively fueled by Jake's fervor for expression. Where once hesitation loomed, now confidence blossomed. Her unfinished canvas remained a constant reminder of her evolution. The first layers of artistry were a testament to risk-taking, something she was steadily becoming adept at. Every brushstroke represented not only the reclamation of her past dreams, but also enriching the bond with Jake, as they created their individual narratives within the larger story of their journey together. In the vibrant streets of New York, Sarah discovered a network of artists who echoed her passion, a community she realized she had yearned for. Her proposal for a community outreach initiative began to take form, an endeavor aiming to mentor emerging artists while showcasing their authentic journeys through art. Not only did she bring her unique perspective as a nurturer, but as someone who confronted her own fears to embrace ambition. Jake's artistic pursuits flourished within the creative pulse of the city. He found a dynamic environment that inspired him, an array of influences that fueled his passion further. His portfolio was coming together brilliantly, each piece demonstrating his unique voice. As they worked side by side in their shared studio space, the lines of mother and son began to blur, transforming their relationship into a partnership grounded in mutual respect and admiration. One evening, after a particularly intense paint session, Jake turned to Sarah with an expression that mirrored excitement and vulnerability. "Mom, I submitted my work for an exhibition," he announced, the words tumbling out with an energy that swept her in. "Jake, that is wonderful." She felt a wave of pride wash over her. This was a significant step in his artistic journey, but as the thrill of his accomplishment spread, a shadow of doubt clouded her heart. Would such ambition draw focus from her own aspirations? "I hope it doesn't, Mom. I want us to succeed together," he continued, as if reading her thoughts. The moment lingered between them, a profound understanding exchanged without words. Sarah's heart sank and rise all at once. The weight of his dreams coupled with her own ambitions felt monumentally uplifting. She realized now that they were no longer just parallel aspirations veering away from each other. They stood united, intertwined, each artistic journey feeding into the other. Yet, the first major exhibition neared, and with it came the weight of expectation. Sarah encountered doubts as the deadline loomed closer. Would her piece connect with viewers on an emotional level? As pressure mounted, she voiced her fears to Jake during one of their late-night sessions. "What if I can't live up to this? What if people don't see what I'm trying to express?" For the first time, she saw Jake not just as her son, but as an equal, a forthcoming artist himself. "Mom, you've transformed so much already. Remember that your art is your voice. Sharing is the key," he reassured her. His confidence rooted in love unlocked something within Sarah, illuminating her path ahead. Finally, event day dawned, the gallery bees buzzing with anticipation. As they hung their work, the energy fizzed in the air. A shared dream was now tangible, blooming into reality. The intricacies of Sarah's emotions poured into her piece, while Jake's vivid representations danced alongside hers. Their artworks each told a part of their story, complementing one another in a mosaic of experience, ambition, and evolution. When the doors opened and guests began to wander through the gallery, Sarah felt a wave of exhilaration like she had never known. They met faces lit with understanding, voices resonating with appreciation for the stories told through her work. A vibrant discussion blossomed, bridging the gap between prepared thoughts and authentic expressions. Jake's work drew admiration, each viewer captivated by the depth of feeling woven into his creations. As people gathered around their art, Sarah beamed with pride. This was their achievement as artists, yet more importantly, it marked the culmination of their development as individuals. "Mom, look," Jake exclaimed, pointing to a couple animatedly discussing his work. "They're totally into it. This is happening." As they exchanged triumphant smiles, Sarah felt solid confidence envelop her. The weight of self-doubt shattered into remnants, giving way to a fierce recognition of her competence as an artist and as a mother. They had not only conquered their fears but had built a foundation for ongoing support, a collaborative journey rooted in love and ambition. That night, after the gallery buzz faded, Sarah reflected on the exhilarating whirlwind of their new lives. She realized she had proven to herself that pursuing dreams did not mean sacrificing their bond. Rather, their intertwined paths had forged a stronger connection between them. In the midst of her growth and realization, a moment of gratitude washed over her. She had not only reclaimed her identity as an artist, but had helped Jake ignite his own passion. Now, as they stood hand in hand on the threshold of a new chapter, she understood that they could soar into the realms of possibility without yielding to fear. It was time to embrace the unknown. She was ready, all barriers dismantled, feelings clarified, dreams tangible. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, help the channel grow. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this empowering story. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.